do. A pleasant good afternoon. Welcome back to, of course, off season. My name is Ren. Oh, a glowing today. Hold on. Can't be glowing, Ren. All right, that's as good as it could get. Anyway, my name is Ren, and this is another off season, a show devised by the UB Athletic Department as well as University Relations, combining to give you content about our coaches, administrative staff, athletic trainers, student athletes, and alumni. Today it is my pleasure to let you talk to somebody who's being said to be a pace setter and a way maker in the program. COB Athletics at the time, the Caribs, she was a dominant force. She was I would say, a name on the campus. I still recall when I was there, her throwing and throwing and throwing. You just knew not to fight her. I think you would get beat up. But of course, Ms. Clark comes with a lot to offer. So as we prepare for her to come and we get an early start, it's my pleasure to read a little bit of bio into who she is, so you, the audience, can know who we have coming to you. Again, this is brought to you by University Relations, Go Mangoes, and of course, UB Athletics. So, Julia was one of 7 years. Start over. Catch myself. Breathe. All right, there we go. Julia has more than 7 years in client relation experiences in the financial industry. She is now employed by UBS Trustees Bahamas Limited as a corporate advisor. Julia is an active member of the Toastmasters organization, joining Healing Communication Club 7178 in October of 2014. She currently serves as the Division F Director. As a Division Director, she's responsible for 20 clubs. That's a lot, including 3 family islands located in Exuma. Coming out, by the way, Exuma, Andres, Maguana. In her capacity as Division F Director, she also oversees 4 dynamic area directors, and she's a proud member of 3 Toastmasters clubs. I'm reading your resume, girl.
Wow.
Just smile while I do it. I'm not done. She achieved her Distinguished Toastmaster Award in July of 2020, and she is highest individual honor of the Toastmaster program. In addition to being a proud Toastmaster, Julia is a proud wife. Ooh, show off, because she corrected me. Get my name right, boy. She's married to Christoph Clark, who is an active member of Christ Community Church, where she serves as a sound technician. Well, shut the front, back, and side door. Got all kinds of talents, could speak and use the wires. Some of her hobbies include reading, listening to music, working out, and traveling. She also loves animals and owns a lionhead rabbit named Sparrow.
Sparrow, yeah.
I read it before, and I'm going to firstly stop there and ask, why the mention of the lionhead rabbit?
Well, I've always had like cats and dogs before, mainly cats for about 17 years of my life. And just a year now, my husband and I, we wanted some sort of pet in our home. And I said, well, I didn't want any more cats. And where we are, it wasn't conducive for a dog. So we went with the lionhead rabbit. It was a spur of the moment decision, but we wanted a pet.
Is this like, if they had a COVID animal, they say you have these calendar animals or spirit animals. Is the lionhead rabbit your COVID animal?
Exactly, correct.
Okay, mine was the chicken because they give me eggs. All hail chicken.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. One is named Beyonce. Shout out to Beyonce. I want to know. I just look for her eggs. I can taste when Beyonce give me eggs.
Exactly.
But Julia received a bachelor's degree in business administration management from the University of the Bahamas, where she graduated on the Dean's List and named Female Athlete of the Year 2013, which is important. We'll get there too. During her time in college, she served as track and field team captain, which afforded her numerous opportunities to travel abroad and gain international exposure. Specializing in discus and shot put, Julia represented the Bahamas on numerous national track teams and career teams, and traveled to Providence, help me with that one, Turks and Caicos Islands, and Georgetown, Cayman Islands. She also participated in the World Youth Championship and traveled to Ostrava.
Ostrava?
Ostrava, let's go with that. Republic.
Yeah.
as a member of the Central American and Caribbean Junior Championship team. Julia traveled to San Diego, to Dominican Republic to represent the Bahamas. As a member of the North American, Central American, and Caribbean Athletic Association (NACAC), Julia participated in the Under 23 Championship in Mexico. Julia, I want to say first of all, I'm going to call you Julie.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yes,
Kim
yes.
was like Julie, and she
Yes.
called your proper last name, which we won't do, right? And I was like, hey, Julie, what's going on? I made the flyer, Julie. You was like, it's Julie. I know. Thank you.
Yeah.
But it is my pleasure to interview yourself. For those who are listening for the first time, this is off season. It is my pleasure for this 30 minutes to learn about what it took for you to build yourself as a student, as well as an athlete, as well as get some of this financial advertising, right? Like, you know what to do, the advice, the moves. And I think any student listening would definitely win from that. Of course, this is going to be saved on the page for anybody who wants to see it later. We're also going to post it to YouTube, which I'll send to you. And finally, we partnered up with 10th Year Senior. So your interview will be on the podcast in the future. So you want to tune into 10th Year Senior YouTube page, Facebook, and our Instagram, where we will, within the coming months, have a recycle of this episode. So thank you again. You're definitely giving back to the institution. If you want to give money as well, we encourage you to. Give it directly to UB Athletics. Just let the Lord lead you. If it's 100, just make it 5, Anyway, but let's move on. We talked about the Lionhead Rabbit, but it's time to talk about the athletic career. And we know that you started off with Burgundy and White, which is the Caribs. I remember seeing you as a student, like I mentioned before you came on. I knew not to fight you. I saw you shot the court one time when I saw how far the shot put went, and then you had on this face like, I could do better. I was like, don't fight her, Ren. Ask her to vote for you, but don't fight her. So you came to UB Athletics in its infancy stages. Talk about what it was like coming to the program back then.
Well, thank you so much for your question, Ren. And you know what? It's so good to see you and hear your voice, Ren. You are doing wonderful. I remember you from those COB days as well. I'm still getting used to saying UB, but but in the infancy stages, I'm not
because of us. Because we old, we can say
exactly.
COB on this one. It's fine.
Oh, I appreciate that, but based on it is. Well, I'm not too sure where it is now, but anyway, by the library, there's another block close to the business block. I'm not too sure if that's where it is as well now. But the infancy stage for me was just the gym being on top of the sub, where it was just like a small room.
You hit a memory that's now actually that is now the Student Government Association Senate room. They changed the old gym into the new Senate room. So anybody from SGA, that's a history lesson. That's where we used to meet. Literally, remember the tools and the machines used to be on each side of the wall. Man, I old.
And then because I actually practiced with Coach Bradley Cooper since I was in high school. So for me, the infancy stage would have been 2 years before I started COB in 2008, where the gym was on top of the sub. And then when I moved for the first time in 2008, that building that's actually right next to the basketball court. So that is my earliest memory of the infancy stage. And then I'm not too sure if you know or if the athletic director, Kimberly Rural, would have mentioned to you, but I would have been one of the first recipients of the scholarship fund too, to sign off on that. So, just really getting exposure and experience to be a part of the athletic team and the track and field team was phenomenal as they started the whole athletic scholarship program, because before that, you had to get scholarships using other avenues. But being a part of the first official sign-on athlete for College of the Bahamas at that time, that's one of my earliest memories.
And of course, this would have been back in the time. We had a great episode with Sean. Sean gave us a great history lesson on how under Bradley Cooper, there was this regime of athletes and especially throwers that can't be in yourself.
Right.
So that's great. I personally didn't know you were amongst the first. It's an honor. because to see how far it's come to the Ken and Kendricks now being named in the Olympic arena, it's like this program has really taken off to places I think nobody imagined in the beginning, but we're grateful we're here. So,
Yeah.
talking about Bradley, let's get straight into Bradley, right? So,
Hmm.
Mr. Cooper, because I got to be respectful. I could call him Bradley
Yeah.
Cooper because I have a chance to work with him. Mr. Cooper, raise about you and what you've done in the past for athletics, carrying the flag in track and field in the program, and so forth. What training, what was training like under that former Olympian, which he is? If you didn't know, Bradley Cooper is an Olympian. He's done great things for the Bahamas. But tell us about training under such greatness.
Hmm. Wow. Yeah. So training under Coach Cooper was definitely a lot heavy, 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 and it left me hungry many a days, right? But for for college days, I would say, practice was in the morning and then sometime in the afternoon. So my schedule literally was getting on the ground for COB at least 8 o'clock. I didn't have a car back then. So I had to be, and sometimes I had a 6 o'clock class. So in between those classes, I had to get into workouts. But my gym experience was really heavy, for bench press, for example, lifting about 225 for leg press around 560. That if in
Oh,
terms of
right,
plates,
you.
that would
That's
be
it.
three. That would have been, yeah.
You would have
Yeah, that
knocked
would
me
have been
out.
about,
Congratulations to your
yeah.
husband. He waited
So
on the Lord. He came with a strength stronger than anything you could lift. Ha.
and he waited after I was
Hallelujah.
competition
Hallelujah.
too. Yeah. So um but also, it was a time of just pure heavyweight focus and getting into my zone, and coach making sure that every competition, every practice, every event that was focused on, before international travel or even traveled for the college abroad to the college meets that we would have went to each season, making sure that was in tip top shape. And like I said, leaving it, the heavy gym lifting, and it left me very hungry as well, right? So I don't know if
Right.
any of my former fellow athletes online right now, but I remember going to practice and then going straight to McDonald's to eat like two Big Macs, 10 nuggets,
Wow.
five, five, yeah, five, yeah, five nuggets at this. I mean, like 10-piece nuggets and fries and a soda, like after one sitting, because I know I'd burn it off, right?
Right, right. I wanna ask about it though. And we talk about the regime of you coming in amongst the first, but knowing how it was, this reality, few athletes even know about it. If you didn't know, they now have a meal plan that they have breakfast and lunch and it's late dinners. Um, everything is
Wow, I
paid
missed
for.
that. Oh, where's Miss
Dorm.
Rule? Oh my goodness.
There's a
Ugh,
student financial aid for athletes only. They literally skip the line and the traveling perks as well.
what?
So yeah, it's like you said a pay your hunger is why she probably at the time and said we need to feed them.
Oh wow.
And of course back then we didn't have cafeteria wise, we didn't have
No.
university owned cafeteria. I think it was the Barrows. What else is there? So much things possible.
Yeah, Sbarro.
It
So
was
went Wendy's to McDonald's. A lot of small places, but yeah, I'm glad you
I
all
think
have
it was
meal plans now.
Barrows, Starbucks, and Dunkin' Donuts. That's what we had that rotated. And
Yep.
then we had the Maynards. The Maynards ran a kitchen there for a while for the university. So Miss Maynard, a good friend of mine, she ran it. Charles Maynard's sister, obviously. She ran a
Hmm.
kitchen there before it would
Oh
go on
wow.
hiatus from the from the Sabaros era, which was like in 2007 to 9. And now we have a
Hmm.
fully owned cafeteria that's staffed by the university's business of enterprise. So things have transformed since you've been there. Just a quick update. But let it be said
Wow.
again, a lot of athletes, if you listen to the previous episodes, everybody loves the meal plan. Like even Ken was like,
What?
dude, breakfast, vegetarian, eggs, they get water. Ken was sponsored by Dasani water. So he's, on all the posters. So he not only drinks the water, but he can look at himself while he do it. It's crazy.
Ooh.
Crazy.
I have to speak with the athletic director to see if something's in arrears for me. If I, if I could
And you have
get
a
something,
component that you need. That's financial
I,
information. We need to figure
I
out.
I need to find out if anything is backed up where I can get repaid for those meal plans I missed.
Listen, we can always use assistance with a female throwing coach. I mean, we had a great thrower when I first came, but she got a scholarship to go abroad. But talk to Kim, see
Mm.
how best, because we had on the last episode somebody came about saying they don't mind training in track and field. Like before, she's going on soon to become a
Mm-hmm.
doctor, but she doesn't mind coming back.
Yeah.
And I think Anthony is coming back to
Ex-
help with basketball. So whatever, free service. That's my job. Make sure I free the
yeah.
income. Do it, girl.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. I see you comment, Kyle. Yeah, we missed a couple of meals for sure. That's a fellow athlete of mine, teammate.
All right.
Yeah.
And that is important. Meal nutrition. Let's talk about that. How better you thought you could have been if you had what we are giving now, which is the 3 meals,
Oh,
the
I
fasting in.
Oh, well, I mean, in terms of, and I would say if I had a meal plan, of course, my decision on what I eat would have been monitored a little bit better. But at that point in time, with heavy focus on just going to the gym, making sure that I actually refuel was the most important, right? So refueling
Right.
after a heavy meal, or I mean, sorry, after a heavy workout was really important for Coach Cooper and us just to refuel. Not necessarily. I know maybe runners and jumpers they may not have to focus on how much they put on, but for me, I was never a big thrower as well, right? I probably weighed in around 160, 170 when I had actually not even 170, but I'd say 160 was my competition weight, and I never went over that. I was actually smaller than that, and I had to put on weight. So realistically, compared to my size versus the size of throwers that you see these days, they're massive, or they were massive, I should say, or still are. So for me, it wasn't a matter of what I ate. It was just literally refueling.
Okay. And that's fair. And I think the important lesson is every sporting event, and I think the nutritionist, he specifies this as well. Everybody has a basic different dietary need.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like, yes, you were very aware you needed a high protein, high carbohydrate kind of diet and you'd burn it off. So
Mm-hmm.
that's good. Now, you mentioned traveling and seeing other competitors. And I, for one, have seen the size you're talking about when it comes to throwing events. You're talking
Yeah.
about the fattest guy in the room, the tallest, fattest guy, and he's coming there. Um,
Yep.
Talk about that, especially. I skipped this piece. Tell us which high school you came from, firstly.
Yeah. No problem. So the high school I attended was Temple Christian High School. I'm a son,
Okay.
proud son.
We all have to be proud of something, soccer or nothing. We have to be proud of something. That's fine. So coming from Temple Christian, having received one of our first, of course, scholarships to the university, and now going on. Did you travel with UB first or with Crystal? Which Crystal was first?
Yeah, right. So in terms
Crystal
of
traveled.
national, yeah. So for me, in terms of my international travel outside of just competition here or for the college, my first competition abroad would have been on an international level would have been in 2007 for Carifta in Turks and Caicos Islands. And believe you me, I would say I started throwing in grade 8, and I didn't. I remember going to nationals trying to compete and qualify for these type of international events. I didn't make it in grade 8. I didn't make it in grade 9, grade 10. So, but I was used to winning BAISS and the nationals that came after BISS. But that's what actually piques my interest in terms of the sport and the event, right? So I trained and I started off in grade 8, grade 9, and I started off with a mindset of, okay, I'm winning BISS, but then now it's time to change my perspective and change my focus and change what my goals are and what I strive to do. and I had to look outside of just the high school competitions. And the next up was international, and I spoke to Coach Cooper, I spoke to Coach Cartwright at that time. We have a good connection with all the throwing coaches in this land, which I can tremendously say that they have all been supportive of my journey from the very beginning up until now. But that focus for me, as I transitioned from the focus of just high school and then going into international competition, when I started to go into the qualifying events or what was needed for Carifta and international meets, I had to learn quickly that my mindset had to adjust. It was not the same thing as going into competition with with the rest of your high school mates. And 2007 was that turning point for me, and I honestly had to change my mindset in grade 10, and I adjusted it for grade 11. I'm like, you know what? I'm not leaving high school until I focused on, or until I achieve one of these Carifta teams. And everybody around me at that time, they were like, especially if you were in an environment where you're around other teammates or persons who are competing and actually qualifying for and making those teams, you want to be a part of it too. You don't want to be left behind. So that was my mindset leaving high school. So Carifta 2007 was in Turks and Caicos that year, and I qualified for that. And then I only was focused on Carifta, but what happened that same year, I qualified for the next team that was in Ostrava. And that was the furthest, and actually the part of the first year that I actually competed, where I had to throw over 12 meters to get on that team. So it's a mindset of really, truly trying to figure out how you can keep growing and keep going for different distances, in my opinion. But it changed every year, right? Because
you're so young, from grade 8 to grade 10. And you're talking, I believe you're actually revisiting your time there to get this experience to come out. But you're talking of being so focused, so goal-oriented, in a time where, if I could be honest, a young lady's probably thinking, I've dated a girl who was athletic, and she was a thrower, and she told me, like, she stopped, and her auntie stopped, because it's like when they start getting that formation and the muscles, it's like guys be intimidated. I want to get that experience with you. But there may be a young listener or somebody who's throwing. But of course, and I've talked shout out to my cousin, Gabrielle Nixon. She was a thrower too, right? From Managua.
What?
And, yeah, Gabby is my family.
Wow, she's a goat.
So Gabby is one of those who, she kills in softball and throwing. But I always saw throwers, and I love a strong woman too. My mom was athletic. So talk about the femininity, I'd say, of the sport. How do you find that balance between, I have this feminine energy, I'm going to get married one day, but for right now, I'm going to be a beast. And shout outs to Sasha. Sasha's logged in, of course. Sasha's married as well, and she was a thrower, Sasha Johnson. But talk about that right now.
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, Ren. And people get it all the time, right? But when you really have your own focus on what you want to do or what you want to see for your life, I saw very early for high school, I wanted to leave a legacy for Temple Christian, did that, and being a part of and connected with Bradley Cooper, he was then able to, encourage me to say, well, if you don't go off, I really want you to stay here. This is what we're going to offer you for College of the Bahamas at that time, at the beginning, when I was transitioning into high school, into college. He was like, this is going to be offered. When you begin to look at the dollar value that your body and also the places that this world can take you, like I said, throwing has basically paid. I got a free degree off of throwing. I've gotten international experiences off of throwing. If someone comes to me and say, oh, they don't like your body, I'm like, oh, can you pay? Can you give me a free trip around the world? Can you give me these opportunities that working in the gym, working out, focusing on something that's bringing me dividends, can you give me that, or just your opinion? If it was just opinion, then by all means, I don't need it. Leave it at the door. I
I would have never thought this fierceness was in you because I still
Yeah,
remember when
no,
I was a student, you were just smiling and throwing and laughing.
absolutely, yeah. But I had those comments, and you're related to a great Gabrielle Nixon. When you look at these throwers, because she was about 2 or 3 years ahead of me, and when you look at these throwers, they and real throwers at that time, they are competing with a fierceness, and I'm like, you know what? I can still have my feminine side. I can still desire to be smart. I can still desire to be who I am, but I always believed that I didn't have to showcase that. The only time I needed to showcase that was when somebody was able to come to me and say, you know what, I don't like your body. And I'm like, well, and I'll explain to them exactly what I said to you just now. It's not about you, boo. You ain't paying, you're not, and back in that time, not to say you ain't paying my bills, but my bills were scholarship and going off to these different meets, because I don't think people understand that the money invested from the athletic directors or in any athletic program, that's money. You trying to compete at certain levels, and you're trying to represent the country. That's heavy. And making the Carifta teams, I'm sure the Bahamas actually invest a lot of money in these 70-member teams, and making sure, like you said, meal preps and uniforms are there. So it's money in it. If persons aren't doing the work in the gym or seeing dividends, that's on them. It ain't on me. I saw dividends, so that's what I'll tell them if they got something to say about my body. I got some places to show for it, you know?
Hey, and now you got mine.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah,
got
yeah,
mine.
yeah, yeah,
You're married.
yeah, exactly. Exactly,
That's
exactly.
all it.
But please
Hey,
tell
it's
Gabrielle I
great.
said hello. Oh my
I will,
goodness. I didn't
man.
even know that ran. Oh my gosh.
Listen, it's
She
so
was one of
funny,
them I
right?
looked up to greatly too.
It's so funny. Eddie and Pakistan is from Anagua as well, right? I didn't know
Oh
at the time
yeah.
until I met his dad that Eddie and was my cousin all along too. So
Wow.
when I went there, I found out like their second or third grandmother was a Mortimer. So that's how the Mortimers and the Parkinsons related. And I didn't even know
Crazy.
that. So I went through shock from grade 8 until grade 12, playing softball with Eddie and never knowing that he was my cousin. So when I found that out, I was
Mm-hmm.
like, whoa. And of course, I'm from the Great Transfiguration Baptist Church, Stephen Thompson.
Wow.
So my cousin as well. And it goes on from there. Shout out to everybody who's here. Mr. Bradley Cooper is here. Gotta call him
Oh
Mr.
my
Legendary.
goodness. Pressure tall now. Oh my goodness. Oh,
Pressure Tall.
hey
So,
coach.
so next question. So we have enjoyed many benefits, right? Our current athletes enjoy so many of them. Like the full scholarship, the books and meal plans, and I guess it comes with growth. And of course, the funny part is you're among the first who donated books in Kim office. Your books are being passed down from athletes to
Yes.
athletes, right? But in your view now, outside looking in, how do you view the university's athletic program? And of course, with the updates I've given you, what's your view on it?
Mhm. Yeah, honestly, I believe the program is an excellent program. Like I say, from day one, the coaches, the athletic director, Kimberly Rule, Sean, Coach Cooper. I don't know if Petula Russell is still there, and everyone who's a part of that gym, Wiley, Mr. Cox, all of them made it a fun-filled and warm environment for us to be in. And I would just say the only change I see, really, maybe there was an increase in funds that's allowed for the scholarship, but the only real change I haven't experienced from what I've heard you say would be the meal plans. I experienced the full scholarship. I experienced the books, and really walking around with, and also the early registration. I'm so sorry to say to, well, I wouldn't, well, I don't know how to say it, but I was blessed to be able to register early for all of the years I was there for my classes, and that's a perk of what the athletic department offered to the athletes. I think, I don't know if they still have registration. Yeah, I don't know if they still have registration in groups where you have to go based on senior and junior, freshman and sophomore,
And
what
our
have you.
athletes are
But
always amongst the
yeah,
first. Last year, of course, before COVID, we were proud to have, I think, over 13 athletes graduating. So
wow,
the win factor, the end result was matched. We did a good photo of the Justin Monroe, Uric it's so many athletes who graduated. And even this semester, we had like Alex Lee, who was in track and field. So the only thing you didn't mention, which I want to add in as well, is we actually work along with residential campus to make sure that our Family Island athletes have dormitory space. So a lot of athletes
Oh yeah.
now on different sports, especially track and field, have among, I would say, maybe the first pick in space. And I
Mm-hmm.
think there was a
Right.
whole different dorm only for athletes. So shout outs to Director Kim Roll and of course Assistant Director Sean Basin for having such a great vision to grow this program and make
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for people like myself to do things like this. Because funny
Nice.
enough, before I came to UB, if you didn't know, there was no social media presence. So all the
No,
stuff
they
you
were
guys were
not.
doing with Karen, yeah, people didn't know. So now it's like when people say, "What y'all doing? I never see you," it's as simple as, "Hey, go to Mingos242 on Instagram and click follow." Hey,
You see.
go to and it continues. Go to YouTube. On YouTube, you have so much videos of what we've been doing. So now we're in
Mm-hmm.
the era of time service. So I want to continue with the next question, which is important. You touched the athletic side. Let's get to the brain. So I understand that you're a student athlete who has consistently been on the dean's list. Congratulations. I never went to class, but I was there too, since you would show up. What was it like for you to balance academics and athletics? Talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great question too, because balance is important, right? And I would honestly say it based on my upbringing. My father was focused on me going to practice. He was making sure that I was there. I know Bradley Cooper and the rest of my teammates can attest to my father being to every practice that I held, especially before I entered into COB. He was there somewhere in the background, sitting on a bench, making sure I'm fully present. But the next side of me was from my mom. She always was really concerned about my grades, right? So I had that split level focus from in my home environment. So it was a push from my dad to say, okay, well, you have the ability to do great to and to succeed in this life, in this athletic life. So now it was just very easy for me to do. And I mean, in addition to that, for me, I'm goal oriented a lot of times, and really focusing on, I guess, at least a minimum of a 3 point was a desire for me. And it was easy. I think once you know your style of learning, once I was in the classroom, once I paid attention, it was honestly easy for me to pick up information. Like I couldn't be one of the students who miss class. I know there's some persons who just need to read the book, but I'm a hands-on
Yeah.
person. I guess that's why I did well in sports. But for me, I just had to be in class. And not only that, I think it was at that point in time, there was a requirement that you had to be in class for a certain amount. Or oh
Yeah.
no, I remember what it was, study
I had
hall.
to read.
Oh, I wasn't into that. I wasn't into no study hall at all. I Miss
Uh,
Rose, she was
they
here,
still
she
have
was
study hall. They still have study hall.
yeah, I
They still
think
have.
I think what was it, like a minimum of 2.5 or something? I don't know if it raised, but yeah, that was probably another real reason why I was
You
just
need
like,
to
nobody got no
go
time for
back
no
to
study hall.
go back to study hall. They talking to this big. I making 3.0. Why you gotta come and put in time here?
Yeah, no, and that was actually that was the reason why I did so well. I didn't want to go to study hall. That was the reason. I was just like, oh, I got to be to practice all day, twice a day, lifting weights, tired, hungry, eating multiple times a day. And then if I don't make the grades, I have to now put a schedule out to
I
um to go to study hall
I
too.
wanted you
I'm
to
sorry,
stay
I
here.
wasn't about it.
I need you to stay here because
Yeah,
we have
no.
lost so many talented student athletes because of grades. Kim knows it, Sean knows
Wow.
it. Um, and the list goes from every sporting event. So much people have
Hmm.
the talent but can't find that balance. And you got to remember, study hall is for those people who aren't getting it. It's an extra push to say we're
Yeah.
here to help you. And the saddest thing I've seen in this is a great talent get almost D's and F's, and it's like,
Wow.
for the
Yeah.
people who I get to talk to, it's like you're saying, it's about your learning style. You can give stories of how you need that one-on-one. Anybody who knew me back inside COB knew I never went to class because if I could be motivational for a second, I read the book Think Big by Ben Carson, and the thing
Nice.
that stood out to me is when he was studying to be a medical doctor, he couldn't pass this particular class because he would go to listen to the lecturer and the lecturer would talk, but the stuff that was discussed in the class wasn't on the test. So the great Ben Carson, you know, one of the first black neurosurgeons, he changed it so he could adapt and pass each course. I personally, as long as attendance is only 10% or 15%, never came to class. And I've had the great Ava Thompson and Dr. Hutchison tell me I'm stupid for it. There's like, you giving away A. Like, if you just come to class.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but a B is good.
Yeah.
I was a rebellious college student. So I'm pulling out the key lesson for anybody who's listening. Learn your learning style, which is Counseling 100. So take that your first semester, athletes. And second, keep your grades high so you don't have to go to study hall. Said here first, Julie Clark on the stage. Next, what advice would you give any athlete who's struggling with this balance of academics and athletics? Other than give me more.
Well, Ren, I wouldn't even call it a struggle. First of all, if someone is accepted into the College of the Bahamas, UB, that means you are capable of learning and achieving a degree, whatever it is you want to. You've made the first step. Second of all, if you don't get Kimberly Rowe, Bradley Cooper, all of the coaches there to sign you as an athlete, that's a second reason that you are more than capable, and you have another gift that you now can apply. And I have to be very honest. If you're failing a class, the reason why I said if you're accepted into the University of the Bahamas, that shows that you have ability. But if you're failing a class, I believe there's always some way. If you know you're failing a class, you more than likely you're failing a class. So I personally feel as though the person would not be trying. That's the honest truth.
Again, let's not rush that. We speak as people who've gotten it, and I've learned this from counseling. You have to literally slow it down and dumb it down to a point so people understand. I want to take what you're saying and break it down even further. If you got the contract for the class at the beginning, that contract, based on percentages and you keeping track of it, can tell you whether you're going to fail the class or not before midterm.
Yeah.
So percentages, right? And this is free lesson. If you get a percentage for attendance, a percentage for quizzes, a percentage for the midterm. In this case, some of the classes I hated but loved were those where it was like 30% for midterm and 50% for the final. So I was like, so I don't have to come to class. I literally just had to pass this final exam, which I did.
Exactly. Yeah.
Midterm, and never do the quizzes. I had like 4 friends, all of us. We just looked at the contract and determined how we pass this class. And we would look at the end result of the contract, which is the final exam, what could be on it. We had this is a little bit of a secret. We had somebody who used to record the lectures and take notes, because literally my mentality, and this is free advice, just to add on to yours, is you start the class with an A grade.
You know what's going on.
And literally everything you do from that step on leads to your final grade. But the lecturer from day one is giving you hints on how to maintain that A. If you don't do it, then it's your fault.
And not even just that, Ren, because like you said, you already given the syllabus and the amount of percentage up and up front. But what persons, and in my opinion, I actually can tell you that, yes, I graduated with a degree in business management, but I actually started off in the accounting program. So even though I wasn't failing any class, I also had to be real with myself as I experienced like the 200 levels of accounting. And even the first one, I was just like, oh, the rest of this accounting journey is not for me. It is not. Like, I tried it. I saw what was going on, and I had to switch. And my oldest brother and my other brother and my advisor at the time, I don't know if Miss Miles is still around, but please send us my love if anybody's in contact with her. She was my advisor during my time there, and also Coach Cooper. They basically said, you know what, if I needed to switch, I needed to switch before my third year. So I decided to
Yeah,
make
yeah.
that jump in my third year, and it was really sound and wise advice because I could not see myself. I mean, not to say accounting isn't important, but I couldn't see myself just doing accounts. So failing a class is similar way. If you know you're failing, figure out what you need to do to change the grade, or like you say, that you need to do, or the max or whatever has the most percentage that you need to focus on, and figure it out. But failing is, I can't see why persons who are afforded this opportunity with the athletic department, especially when you get not only educational funds, but you get, like you say, meal preps and meals, and also ability to travel too, and multiple times in a season. Like I know when I was there, I had at least 3 to 4 trips, to the Florida colleges abroad that the college would have paid for, and also provided uniforms. And in addition to that, well, I see afterwards they're going further places in Florida now. Penn Relays and some other places I saw, on posts. There's this money in this,
Yeah.
so it's
Jane
no
Carey, we
reason. It's no reason.
don't allow baking,
Exactly. There's no reason. There is no reason why a student athlete. I mean, not let me not say no reason, because everybody has their personal, you know, things that they're going on. Maybe that they're coming from the islands and it may be a culture shock. I understand that. Or it's another mentality though, Ren. I'll tell you this. Maybe it's an athlete that's here that actually wants to be abroad. That's a real
Exactly. You hit
conversation
that. You
too.
hit that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a real feeling, and I'm a proud graduate of college, University of Bahamas, but there are persons that feel as though that, going abroad is better. And and
Bingo.
that could be something
That's
that
the M for
stifles,
bingo. I knew it.
that could be
I made
something
that
that
bingo.
stifles them as well. We have a successful persons who are abroad and go and do really well, but those that decide to stay, I don't know if it's a hole they're in, maybe mentally, that they're saying they can do better. But hey, I represent better. I had a wonderful experience. I'll brag on the athletic department, and also professors and persons in the other departments that I came to. No one loved Candice Eldon in the communication department. She took me in as her own. I don't know if she's on the line, but persons I can
She
really
was
speak
there.
to
She was
that
there.
making.
That's my boy.
Hmm.
That's my boy.
Oh yeah. Oh
Yeah.
wow. Yeah, yeah. Persons I can really speak to who who made my experience worthwhile. But yeah, I would encourage anybody who's failing a class, just dig deep. Why are you in college? Why are you competing? That's all.
What about
That's really.
and of course, in this state we have the two sides. Those who can make it past statistically, we know it's 33.5, right? That can't really make it past the first 2 semesters, which is fine. Those who probably, and this is the key part of it, are in the
Oh,
wrong
what's the
major.
statistic again?
It's a 2012 study by the nonprofit something, but it's like 33.5%. That's the freshmen after the first 2 semesters who don't make it to sophomore
Wow.
year. It's other statistics. Basically, every 4 out of the 5 people next to you in the orientation room probably won't be there on graduation day, and it goes on and on. Retention, empathy, as well as what is it? I forget the next one, but it's different studies we look at, right? And I look at when I think about how do we
Hmm.
retain people as mangoes. And the key, I would say, delusion sometimes is that abroad is better. At this time, I've had to be honest with a lot of parents and students. The world has changed, and
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of paying so much money for a bachelor's degree when you could do it here for free and go off and get a master's. That's my
Hmm.
position. I think if I was a parent, I would the tertiary grant allows my child to have up to a bachelor's degree here. That's more time for me to save to do a master's because in this day and age, back when we was in college and associates was it, right? And if you got a bachelor's, it was like, whoa, you got a bachelor's? Now it's like you get a bachelor's and you need a
Yeah.
master's.
Yeah.
So the times have changed. I'm not a fan of overspending on education, I have gone off abroad for the university. I went to Brock, and I learned the key lesson I want all people to learn, and I think athletes learn who go abroad,
And
which is
sorry, and I just want
you're
to,
just as smart. You're just as smart.
yeah, and you talk about overspending, but another key point that I learned throughout my years at COB is I worked at Atlantis part-time summers and Christmases when I wasn't doing
Okay.
well. I trained during the summer as well, but one thing that I learned was also money management. So whether it's small fees or even when I traveled, I wanted to have money in my pocket. I learned the value of a dollar and making sure that I didn't have to go to my parents to ask for anything. I really felt empowered and independent to know that my parents they didn't even have to ask how a bill looks for school, and I was able to go to the business block to pay whatever, or to check in, or whatever needed to be, all, or just even with my personal
I want
those
to blow
trips
your
that we
mind.
had.
I don't want to stop you, but I just want to blow your mind very quickly. Do you know that our leader, athletic director Kim Rowe, works so hard that there are many athletes who have on-campus jobs?
What? They get paid?
Like I could speak
Enough
of
of,
Justin Smith used to work in the library and for the CAF. Kimsey worked for the CAF and somewhere else, two other places. There's so much opportunity to get money from lab techs, and she fights for that opportunity. So I just wanted to blow your
I
mind.
I love the growth. I don't even know what I was saying just now, but yeah, I mean, but it actually is important. You get those soft skills that you learn how to manage a dollar. And I can say, I can say it if coach is still on the line. Even when we travel to those meets, maybe traveling from a Thursday to a Friday, Coach Cooper would allow us to literally visit Walmart or the mall for like an
Don't
hour
talk
or
about
two.
that. Don't
And,
stop.
well, I would
It's a
say
good thing
with
that
that
the athletic
opportunity,
department always goes off to stay focused on running first. You stay tight to the budget. There is no time for traveling to Walmart,
no,
and you
no,
are so
but
fortunate to be a part of a generation that did that. But under our new direction, that is no longer a leash you can allow. We are over there for a purpose. This commercial was brought to you by the Ministry of. Sorry, I'm not.
but yeah, but honestly, if they, I completely understand where you're going with that. But I'll tell you, if I know I was getting ready to travel and I needed to get some personal items for me, I had to save up, and that was what my jobs focused on, right? So I love your commercial just
Shout
now
out
because I know
to
exactly what you're trying to
head
say.
coach,
But
head
I
coach
appreciate.
Edna Rose is agreeing with me.
Oh, Sean
Also,
is
the athletic assistant director, Sean, they are both agreeing that we do not go to Walmart. This is not
No,
about fun.
no. But what? But I know for that. But they actually gave us a time limit. So that 1 hour, I had to make sure I had my own money in my pocket and all of that. That's just a
Look at the
small plug.
signs.
But that
The
taught
sign
me.
language.
That taught me financial prudence. Go ahead, Mr. Host.
Yeah. We're good. Great to know we're following protocols. Go Mingo. Next question.
Sorry.
Over the years, and this is the reality, this question, I don't use to look at it because it pisses me off. Over the years, we've seen a decline in female athletes that come into the program.
Mm-hmm.
So much that in our era of COB, there was a female soccer team. Of course, we know there was a female basketball team. But now you have so much females who come to me, somebody who's been in the institution and now almost like a historian, and be like, COB need to do better. They need to get more females in. It's like, but we had them. I want to know in your expertise, what contributed to this decline in the female athletes registering to, I believe, the athletic program? And not just track, but just overall. I know if you can remember back then, there was so much female teams.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think affected those people coming in?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So for me, in terms of a female perspective and also a thrower, my reason would be it has to be advertisement and focusing on getting the word that female sports and especially throwers are still important. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you're only focusing on highlighting the runners, the jumpers, the other sports that brings that type of energy where people will be like, oh, I want to be a part of it. You know, basketball teams and all of those sports are important. But I I can honestly say that there's not a lot of focus on the advertisement and the marketing or the push with throwers. You know, and my personal opinion on it is that the throwers or even female throwers at that point, it was encouraged by the senior throwers at that point in time, you know, or even persons around that may be throwing. But if we're not in a community that says, you know what, let's continue to support the throwers or even find a medium that's going to encourage young throwers or young female athletes or young female throwers or even in the other disciplines or, you know, even the Bahamas at large, because I can tell you, you know, the Bradley Coopers of this nation, the Coach Cartwrights and Coach Maycock, all of those, all of those main throwing coaches, those are what you see are the heart of this nation's coaching mentality. And after they go off the scene or they retire, I don't know what's going to happen because there's nothing in place to really encourage the rest of us other than really great memories, really great trips, really great opportunities. Other than that, memories, but it's stuck in us, right? I don't know. Like I think that's really what's killing us right now in terms of throwers, in terms of female throwers, in terms of sports or events that doesn't get that much
That's great input.
playtime or focus. Yeah.
That's great input. Um, have you given any thought to coaching personally?
Yeah, so I coached my high school team for about 2 to 3 years. And yeah, definitely global issue, Kyle. I coached my high school team for about 2 to 3 years. But what's also happening is that coaching is expensive too, right? So now you're looking at persons like myself, persons like maybe Kyle who's on the line. I'm seeing messaging. Like we also need to be able to know that if we leave our regular day job, which for me goes from 9 to 5, can it pay us the same thing or more? We don't know if our opportunity is there. Yes, but for me, I would love to get back in coaching. You know, I changed job last year, so I wasn't able to coach as much this year. But honestly, that's the time as well. After 5 o'clock, school comes out. If you're looking at high schoolers, school comes out around 3. There's no way I'm sure a parent is going to be waiting until 5 for me or another working professional to get off at 5, 6 to then start a practice. It's not practical, and especially if you come from. And I wouldn't even think along those lines because what I grew up in was a lot of practice every day. You know, even from high school, every day after school, 5 days out of the week. You know, so that's the mentality of what I know. But I would love to coach. I would love, even if it's not even coaching, you know, being a motivation to persons who
Oh, we're bringing you in.
are
You will
throw.
definitely get
Yeah,
invited
I
to the
mean, I
process.
I spoke to I spoke to Kimberly Rule before, and when I graduated in 2013. But I don't know. We'll
No, no,
see what
no.
she
I'm
has to
doing a
say.
female. We did a male conference called UB Men. I'm working on a female
Hmm.
conference for UB Women, and the Lord sent you. So
Absolutely.
now you use a speaker. Thank you for accepting. Um, and I also want you to know that what you're saying again. This is going to be left on the page. It's going to be on YouTube. So this is going to be something that we can play for young athletes when they come into the program to understand the tremendous contribution that they can one day have. Because what you're doing here is gold. Like this is literal gold you're laying here. You're laying a lot of nuggets, a lot of secrets. And I want to also, before I get into my last question, state that, the university and this program has been more advanced than people believe. You speak about coaching
Mm,
needing to be full time. Of course, Edna Roll, would become our first head coach that's fully paid by the university.
Wow, yeah.
That was last year, as well as now we have a full-time sports information officer in Chris Saunders. So the program continues to grow, and of course the athletic department, the athletic training department, which started with Sasha Johnson. Now we have Shakith Henfield. So we have so much tremendous wealth of information and experience from Edna and his collegiate experiences to, of course, Sasha and Henfield's. But the thing I want to know is, in your position, in your opinion, how do you feel, or actually rather, do you feel the response toward athletics has changed for the Bahamian society? Or do you feel it's still the same?
In terms of, if it terms of like feel or sports and
like
well, well, honestly, I think in terms of personal opinions for the overall Bahamas, if it has changed sport wise, I think it's the same. I think there was no change. You know, there's no decline. The thing that I want to see is an increase. You know, an increase for parents, an increase for students or younger athletes or just anyone to get back into it, because I can honestly say that even transitioning outside of college, it's a stress for me to even remain working out. You know, I have to drastically change my diet to fit sitting down in the office for 8 hours now. And if you're not in school or if you're not in that environment, you can't expect the students who are in school, especially if you are a former athlete, to really grow. And in terms of the Bahamas in general, I think it's the same. I think more parents, I think, of course, like myself, former athletes, we need to get out there. I don't know how it's going to happen other than just talking with persons around us about our love for the sport. You know, but it hasn't changed. I think it's where it's at a level state, and we have more than capable persons in this Bahama land to carry it to the next level, you know. And, you know, the reason why I say that too is because when you look at if you were to compare it with our team that goes to the Olympics, it's still a very small team. We have a great team that goes to the Olympics, but it's small, you know, especially for track and field. So when you talk about all of these different sports and the Olympics being the all-time athletic place for you to showcase your talent, for me, yes, we may have one or two good swimmers. We may have a 30, if that, amount for track and field, but we also have to recycle a lot of the participants, and not even just that, but we have relay teams that's going to the Olympics, but where are the other disciplines? You know, where are the throwers, like you said? And it's at a place where it's level, but we can and we have the ability to do more. But we just have to figure out how to. And like you said, UB has evolved in a tremendous way where the focus is now on public relations better, and you now focus on meal plans and persons full time. That's growth, you know, and I'm happy to see it. And now it's just time to make sure the Bahama land and the world sees it for when we have major competitions like Olympics. We hear these names over and over in the news with Shawnee and, you know, the regular names that we hear all the time, but we have the ability to hear new ones. You know, there are new persons out there, but it's just not, in my opinion, it's just being leveled. We're just utilizing and running off of the backs of those who are already at the top.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, I have to teach you something very quickly because this has been so dynamic. We're going to cut this session, but start a next Q&A session after this. But right after you say all these powerful stuff, you have to get in the habit of saying Gomengos. You have to do it. So you gotta like just
not carrots?
Gomengos.
Oh.
What? Come again.
All right, let me know when you would like.
All right, on the count of three, let me hear you. You gotta say it like it's something me and